After months of not having the solo Han Solo trailer, we finally have a solo Han Solo trailer. Shock of all shocks, like most things we see from Star Wars these days. It's set far enough from the prequels that we aren't reminded too much of those movies, and close to the events of A New Hope, so it can look like Star Wars original Star Wars. And as mandated by the laws of an increase in YouTube ad revenue, I'm here to break down all the Easter eggs, references, and things potentially missed from the footage, including but not exclusively the different locations, the film's plot, how Han acquired the Falcon, and a look into Han Solo's hidden big-time secret past. Locations seem as good a place as any to start. From what I can tell, we're going to see a number of planets including Han's homeworld of Corellia. Now, there's an excellent chance that this isn't Corellia, but the Imperials have recruitment stations set up on all the significant planets throughout the galaxy. Also, it'd probably be one of the cheapest and easiest ways for a young Han Solo to get off-world. Another location we see looks to be Kessel, a spice mining world that's a great place if you love terrible, dust-ridden nightmares. We've seen Kessel before in Star Wars Rebels, and this isn't dissimilar, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's definitively Kessel, and if it's not Kessel, then it's definitively a different location. This I have no idea about. Could be anywhere. We see some familiar imagery though, what looks to be a variation on an astromech droid like R2-D2, and it's serving beverages just like he does in Return of the Jedi. And here we get a Twi'lek, something again seen in Return of the Jedi, and they're a species that range from exotic dancer to pale greasy creep. This ice world doesn't look familiar, but it appears to be the location of some kind of train heist. We see Woody Harrelson assembling a team, we see the train, and then we see one of the carriages being dragged off. This shot here, with the four-armed monkey man, looks like it could be inside the train due to the shape of the room. The Imperials also look like they have a significant role in this film. We see an Imperial Star Destroyer and what looks like a variation on the TIE bomber, though it does look a little light to be carrying bombs. Anyway, they're chasing the Millennium Falcon through what could be an ion storm, which we have seen before. Or this could even be part of the Kessel Run, which I'll get into in a bit. Also, big monster! There's a big monster in space because it's Star Wars, and big monsters don't need to breathe in space. I guess this scene is also going to prove Han Solo's boast from Star Wars, the first Star Wars. No, not that one, the one that people like. About being able to outrun Imperials in the Falcon.
I've outrun Imperial starships. Not the local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now.
Also, we get one Stormtrooper. Or at least, a variation on what looks like a Stormtrooper. You gotta introduce a new Stormtrooper every film. It's the rule. It's the rule of the universe. There he is though, he fell off his speeder bike because Stormtroopers are not very good at what they do. And by what they do, I mean literally anything. Now going into this film, there's not a hell of a lot we know about the early life of Han Solo. His adventures before the events of A New Hope haven't been completely fleshed out as of yet as they were in the expanded universe, where he fought zombies, tussled with his near identical but less handsome cousin, Thrackan Sal Solo, and we even have origins for all of his clothing. Boots, they're Imperial, because he used to be an Imperial pilot and officer. Pants, Corellian blood-striped, something awarded to those considered to be a hero of his homeworld Corellia. It's a weird prize, but it's a weird universe. What do you want? And vest, he stole it from Greedo. That is a genuine thing that happened, and it was actually hinted at in A New Hope, if you remember this scene correctly.
I don't have it with me.
Here's some of the things, though, we do know about Han Solo. Greedo still does have a deep and personal beef with him, but it's not vest-related. Greedo loved a woman called Nselta, but she chose Han Solo, who both loved and then left, breaking her heart. I mean, really, looking at these two, who do you choose? Greedo has excellent kissy lips, but beyond that, he has a head like a dropped cactus. Also, the young Hannigan Solo, real name, not really, was once married, not really, it was a fake marriage, to one Sana Staros. The idea was they'd pretend to be married, then rip off some dude who's been double-crossing spice smugglers. The drug of choice that Han and Chewie illegally haul. After pulling off this mission, Han Solo took his share of the money, but also took Sana's share of the money, and then buggered off, leaving her high and dry. Yeah, he's not a good person. I mean, that's kind of heavily implied by all the illicit and highly addictive drugs he illegally smuggled for years. He's a bad bloke. I'm glad he's dead. Also, at some point, he freed Chewbacca from Imperial slavery, locking the Wookiee into a life debt, tying him permanently to a drug runner. Yeah, that's, somewhat better than being a slave. He also, of course, won the Falcon from one Lando Calrissian in a game of Corellian Spike Sabak, the dice of which he displays prominently in the Falcon's cockpit. There's also bits and pieces about the character that we know. We know that he pissed off Lando at some point. The person that he smuggled drugs for was an awful slave-owning slug monster. I wonder if he had a problem with, any of these slaves. Not when it's the slug monster paying the bills, I bet. Also, to the chagrin of Jabba, he dumped a whole lot of spice in order to avoid being caught and imprisoned by the Imperials. Also, and most famously, he managed to complete the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. The Kessel Run is a hyperspace route between the spice mines of Kessel and the Pike Crime Syndicate. Han Solo did this by apparently making a series of short but dangerous jumps made possible by having a ship better than everyone else's. Congratulations! That's like winning a horse race because everyone else's horse is a block of cheese. About the 12 parsec Kessel Run thing though, and the movie may touch on this, there's an extremely likely chance that is a bullshit story. In the book A New Hope, The Princess, the Scoundrel, and the Farm Boy, a 2015 retelling of the original Star Wars, it's heavily implied that he's just talking out his ass. You can even see it on Obi-Wan's face. He's all, this guy's an idiot, but I'm just gonna go along with him because I bet when we get to Alderaan, I can cut off his legs and leave him at the edge of a volcano. My classic move. It's interesting that this movie looks to be working in Han Solo's Imperial background from Legends, or part of it. In the Origed Tridge, he has a pretty solid knowledge of Imperial strategy and procedure.
Well, if they follow standard Imperial procedure, they'll dump their garbage before they go to light speed, and then we just float away.
Which, could just be stuff he picked up, or he could have been an inside man. He might have had a little Imperial moustache and everything. But it seems almost certain that they're taking his orphan, growing up in the streets backstory, as well as all that about him joining the Imperial Academy, only to get booted. They're taking all that. The reasons for him getting booted though, well maybe, like he says in the trailer, I'm too much of a free thinker and they had to kick me out because I'm so rad. Or maybe it was hygiene related, which we'll get into. I think in this film though, we're probably not going to get the same Legends backstory as to why he left. That being that he saved Chewbacca when he was ordered to kill him. But I do think that we're going to see the reasoning behind the life debt. I think we're probably going to get something along the lines of, in this film, brief backstory, either in flashback or just, at the start of the film. And then a bit of a fun space adventure. But it's shot all gloomy and sad with no color, because I guess that works. I mean, it worked in Rogue One, I guess. Alright. We see at some point in the trailer that Han isn't in possession of the Falcon, because we see Lando piloting it. I think this might be his original ship until they make the switch. This scene here, we can see what looks like Lando in between his legs, sitting with a bunch of weird-looking aliens, including one of those three-eyed idiots that I shot a lot of in Dark Forces 2. What a game! Man, I wish there were more good recent Star Wars games like Dark Forces 2. Lando, though, he's an amazing gambler. Technically, almost certainly better than Han Solo. So I'm wondering how the hell he lost the Falcon. We see early on in the trailer that Han is in possession of those gold dice, so there's the possibility that they're loaded and he brings them to the game, unless of course this scene takes place after the match, and he takes them as a souvenir. But if Han did cheat, Lando mustn't know that, because even in Empire Strikes Back, when Han says this,
Your ship? Hey, remember, you lost her to me fair and square.
Lando doesn't say, no, you won them by using rigged dice, you smug sack of crap. And speaking of sacks of crap, what the hell happened to the Millennium Falcon? I mean, how did it get from this to this? See, I was under the impression that it's always been beige. I mean, the exterior I get. When it looks like a pile of broken garbage, you wouldn't expect much from it, giving the ship an element of surprise. But the interior... what is going on? Han's just been pulling panels off the walls and yanking out wires and allowing Chewbacca to shake off his wet, matted fur after he comes out of the shower. I never realized it, but the Falcon is a horrible bacteria-ridden nightmare, and it should be flown into the sun. Here's something else interesting. Something you may have bloody missed, who knows? Han Solo doesn't have his chin scar. Like in The Last Crusade, are we going to get another chin scar origin? A bloody bet we are. How's he going to get it though? Regular whip to the face? Or laser whip to the face, because it's Star Wars. What do you think? There's also other nods to the Han Solo that we know from the other films. These gloves make their first appearance in A New Hope. Gross. Maybe get new gloves. Then again, we know what kind of person you are now. His blaster, plus belt and holster, is the same, and Woody Harrelson also has a similar one. We also get a line very reminiscent of this exchange on the first Death Star, but not as good, and it's more forced, and it made a lot of people go, yeah, I don't know about that.
But everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here.
Thought we were in trouble there for a second, but it's fine. We're fine.
To be fair, the role of Han Solo is an incredibly difficult role to fill. It's a little harsh for criticizing a guy for not sounding and looking exactly like Harrison Ford, even though his hair looks like it's been hit by a flock of seagulls, and also the band Flock of Seagulls. Donald Glover doesn't look that much like Billy D. Williams, but from what we know of him as an actor and performer, he'll be able to capture the spirit and smoothness of Lando Calrissian. Just like this new Chewbacca. Hopefully he can capture the spirit of old Chewbacca, even when weighed down with two bandoliers, which aren't just there to sell more Chewbacca toys, because all Chewbacca toys look the same, and I bet you know they serve a real and very important function. This guy though, we haven't seen much of him, or at least I haven't. I don't know anything about him, other than what we saw in Hail Caesar, where he's absolutely fantastic. Maybe he's perfect for the role. Maybe he isn't. Maybe he needed the rumoured acting lessons. Maybe he didn't. Doing an impression of Han Solo in my mind though, it's not enough, and I'm glad they're not going with that. If he can capture the spirit, then that's what's important. But would that it were so simple. Would that it were. Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Keep your head still. Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple. Trippingly.
Would that it were so simple. Would that it were. Would that it.
How about this though? Later this week I'm going to be posting a follow-up video to this on any observations or questions from you guys. So if you have anything to add, chuck it in the comments or message me on Twitter at Mr. Sunday Movies. Also later in this week is going to be a very special Caravan of Garbage that looks at an old comic book Han Solo adventure featuring dice, Boba Fett, killer Jawas, bank withdrawals. It has it all. Right now that's actually up on my Patreon, but it will be here on my channel a few days from now. Because there's actually videos here every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, and separate to that there's my podcast, The Weekly Planet, that airs Mondays, where we talk movies and comics and TV shows. All that can also be found on planetbroadcasting.com, and also like on iTunes and YouTube and, you know, wherever else. There's a bunch of places. You'll probably find it if you want it. Thanks for watching this though. I appreciate it. Take care.